All right, looks like we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Sentient Cloud. I'm going to start this stream off with something that's kind of related tangentially, and I'll explain why in a moment. But if you're unaware, there was recently a very high-profile shooting happened against a conservative political commentator called Charlie Kirk. This is not going to be directly about like the political debate surrounding that, but I wanted to kind of talk about this a little bit. So he was shot through the neck. He later died in the hospital. And while the motivations of the shooter are largely unknown as far as I'm aware, although people obviously make assumptions for, I think, fairly obvious reasons, they've come to the conclusion that it was politically motivated. But even putting aside the motivations of the shooter, because we don't know that yet, the motivations of people who are talking about this and gloating about it or happy about it are, I think, pretty clear, and unfortunately they're not great. And I bring this up not because I'm talking about politics in general, but I specifically want to relate this to politics in software development, because one thing that I have noticed is there are quite a few people who seem to want to inject political discussion or issues into software. One example I can think of off the top of my head that's fairly well known is the Rust group, the Rust Foundation, and the developers behind it, as well as a lot of people in the Rust community like to assert that politics and software are inextricably linked. And while I can acknowledge that whenever you have people in places, you're going to end up with people's personal politics affecting the environment, I think there is a great benefit to not injecting politics as much as possible. And I think that we're seeing one of the downsides of having politics heavily involved in anything, because when you have political issues that are being discussed, they're usually very personal. People get very upset on one side or the other, and you end up with much greater levels of politically motivated violence. And especially in cases where they don't need to be there, I think that injecting personal politics is just a bad idea. And especially if we're talking about something like open source software, like if I were to write this editor and it turns out that someone I disagree with politically starts using it, like, this is going to be open source. I can't stop people from using it, and nor do I want to. And so me talking about my personal politics and saying, oh, well, I don't like this thing or that thing that this person does is pointless and only serves to further heighten the political temperature and pressure. And it also means that the more we inject politics into software, the less the focus is going to be on actually writing good software, and the more the focus is going to be on using software with the right politics, right? You're going to end up with, people on one side saying, well, I'm going to use this piece of software because it's written by this guy who has these political beliefs, and so I'm going to support him, and vice versa. And obviously I'm talking about this in terms of like a political binary, because often you end up with that regardless of where you go. But the point being that if you make politics an issue in a particular arena, in this case software development, it's going to overtake what I think is the more important stuff in software specifically, and you're also going to make it so that people don't have a place where they can go and be useful and helpful, and like have a place where they don't have to care about political issues, because political issues are very, very, very important for some people, and I think it harms the software world, I guess, in general, the software space, to make politics a focal point. That's all I'm really going to say on that issue. yeah, that's really it. I will say I'm sympathetic to the Kirk family on this. Obviously, getting your husband or father or friend murdered in broad daylight, and if you've seen the video of the actual shooting, it's pretty graphic. That's the kind of stuff that you would see in like a really a very R-rated war movie. It's pretty bad, and I I don't want to see that get worse. I don't want that sort of activity to happen in any other spaces, and especially ones where the politics is just completely unnecessary. So anyway, uh, that's all I'm going to say on the matter. I'm going to move on to the actual writing software part of this now. So with all that said, let's get into the code. So first things first, I'm going to let's see, go to the, actually I need to create something. I was looking into the logging stuff. So actually I've got a couple things I need to go through first. First things first, I am going to go to here. I'm going to make logger.hpp. This is because I discovered that macros aren't really usable within within modules. You kind of have to use a header, and that's kind of by design, right? They didn't want to export defines or macros. So I'm going to have to do that for the logger. And I also learned recently, and I kind of heard about this before, but I kind of put it out of my mind, so I didn't remember it. Recently, C++ came out with a print function and a printline function, which are very similar to like the way Rust handles it, or some other more modern languages. So rather than the sort of clunky cout or printf, you can use that. So let's go ahead. We'll go to logger.hpp. We'll go ahead and do header guards here. So I don't know if these are necessary, but I'm going to go ahead and include those. And so we'll go ahead and go through and define some of these because let's see, we'll start with, we'll do the basic ones. So fatal, and actually we'll do lowercase. Error. Warn. Info. And then for debug, and actually we'll do if ndef and debug, because ndebug is a very common define to see. We'll go define debug and trace, and then else define them as something else. Things are a little loud here. Okay, so all these need message, and I think, let's see, just make sure, periodic macro, just make sure I've got this right. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so we want to go with that. And this is going to call this, and actually I need to go and include print. And we need Actually, I should change this because this is going to be format. Print. So format. There's going to be more stuff in here. What is it? I think it's VA opt, and then VA args. That's just to make sure that it's not going to have problems when I don't include any arguments. So it's kind of important. So VA opt only includes this comma here if it is if there's more than just one argument. So okay, and then same here, format dot dot dot. This is going to be a similar. The main difference is going to be some of the formatting. I'm going to have to change things here. Maybe I print first. Something like this. And then line and file name information, something like that. And then from there, this would be print line. Don't have the ability to use mouse stuff. That's okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. Let's go through this. Print. This is going to be trace. And actually, I don't really need to include the arguments for trace. Trace is basically just a quick way to see if you reach a point. So it doesn't actually need, I'm not going to be using the multiple arguments. Debug is where all of the actual like reporting of internal state is going to be occurring, right? That's not going to happen with any of these ones up here. And actually, I should probably go ahead and make sure that these are all the same. So that one there and there. All right. And so trace is going to like report, you know, the line number and the file name, where it's sitting, and all that kind of basic stuff. Okay, so let's see. I need to do file name there and line and column here. So then I'm going to do. So I need to include, what is it? Line number. I forget what it's called, but there is a, yeah, here we go, source location, which is something more recent that was introduced in it's version 20. And that is, what is it? I think it's just called source location. And then doesn't say. Here we go. Source location. Location equals source location current. Yeah. Okay. So that's not too difficult. Just go in here and do std source location current. And then don't know if that's a. Okay, that's fine. Okay. So we just get the line. We need the file name first. first. It's going to be a bit of a longer macro. I might have to extend this. Yeah, hang on a minute here. We'll just extend this down. Source location, current dot file, I think. The file name. Yeah, definitely needs the file name, function name. So I'm going to actually need to put some other stuff here. And I actually need to look up the format for the print function because I'm not sure what the... There we go. Make sure we get the format correct for this. Okay. Object represents format string, consists of ordinary characters, escape sequences. Okay. ID and format spec. Okay. Right, so it's basically the same as how Rust does it. So if I do that, then it will include the file name. That will put the function name there so that we know where everything goes. And then the line and column number. Actually, we'll do it. Oh. Move in here. Right. Okay. So it's the source location, current function name, and then we want the line number. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and do that in the same line, and then source location current dot column. I think that's the correct way to do it. Let's see. Okay, source line, not just line. Okay. Source line. Okay. So there's that, and then the line there. And actually, this is going to be slightly different. Like I mentioned, yeah, there's not going to be any sort of LN. Okay, cool. So it's going pretty well. Thank you, by the way, for mentioning that print function. I didn't really think about that before, and yeah, that's going to make this a lot easier to do. It does, I mean, I was going to have to use a regular header anyway to get the macros working correctly, but that's not a huge deal, and this is a lot faster than having to define my own variadic macros and all that other stuff. So, thanks for that. Okay. We gotta do here. I think that's everything. Let's go and remove that. Okay. Let's go ahead and put format here. In fact, I can just copy all this. Yeah, I'm personally I prefer C idioms, but in the case like the reason that I wanted to use the variadic macros is because I wanted to basically have something similar to what the print macro that Rust has. And so if I can get that with just using something that the C++ library provides, then I'm going to go ahead and do that because I don't want to have to write all my own code for that. Okay, just copy this. Basically everything. Gonna have to clean that up. It's a little weird looking. Okay. That's good there. Okay. This. Okay. Oops. Okay. I think that's going to work. Actually, go here. Okay, we'll live with that for now. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do basically the same thing here, except for it's not going to have as much stuff in it. So it's going to be print line. Only difference is going to say fatal, and then that, and don't want to include that. Okay. I think that's all that I really need there. So just copy that. Oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. Okay. So let's test this out. Let's see. Let's go to script engine. This is something that I was working on yesterday and figure out how to make this work. We'll go here, include logger.hpp, and then here, instead of this, do error. Ooh, actually, yeah, we'll do it this way. Error. Can I just do this? I don't think I can. Maybe. We'll see if it allows this. If it doesn't, that's fine. We'll figure it out, but maybe that'll work. Just get rid of that there. They seem to. I can't really say for certain. I haven't tested the speed. The main thing that I liked, at least initially, so I don't really like header files, having to write header files. So I like that they make it so that header files aren't as necessary. The one issue I do have is you still can't get away with not declaring functions ahead of time. So you kind of get some benefit there, but you really don't. It doesn't erase the doesn't erase all of the reasons why header files are kind of annoying. But it's certainly not that bad, and they seem to work okay. Hopefully that is something that they fix, because frankly, that's the thing that annoys me the most, is that you still have to forward declare stuff, you still have to put a bunch of definitions or declarations at the top of your files for things to work properly. I don't like it, and I think it's especially strange for that to be I guess, but I don't know. I think that's more so the job of documentation, but of course, not everybody writes documentation. That's true. It is generally a little bit. Well, actually, I mean, kind of. So the difference though is in C++, it's pretty common for there to be actual code in a header file, because you've got like templates where you have to declare stuff in the header file. A lot of cases where you have to use coding in header files for things to work. Whereas in C, it's something that people do, but you don't have to for things to work correctly. Um, so I find it to be slightly more of an issue in C++ than in C, but that might just be me. I do think that at this point, it's sort of it's not really something that's necessary. Like the reason why it's not really a thing in other languages, as far as I'm aware, is they scan through the code, they find where all the functions are declared. Um, that is fair. That is definitely fair. Yeah, header only libraries are a thing. Kind of a neat idea, but certainly a little bit of a weird one for me. Anyway, like I was saying, other languages solve this presumably by just scanning through the code at least once and then, you know, saying, oh, okay, these functions are here. Okay, well, the next time they're called, I'll just insert um, that location, which I think is especially more reasonable for C or C++ because they're only compiled. There, as far as I'm aware, there aren't really major C++ or C interpreters. There might be like a REPL or something, but um, and you also global namespace is or the global context or scope isn't used in the same way. I'm not sure if I can explain this the way that I'm thinking I can. Let's see. Basically, like there's not as much code outside of functions from what I've seen, outside of functions, outside of classes. Like if you're using Bash or Python or Lua, a lot of your code ends up going into just kind of like the global scope, right? That entire file is your scope, typically. And you'll have functions and stuff, but there's kind of other stuff mixed in there. And so it is a little bit more strange to be able to do things out of order in that case. But in C, like you've got your main function, and then that calls to other functions. So really, it's very focused on functions rather than on just the file being executed in order. So I don't know. It feels like it's not quite. It feels like it wouldn't be as difficult to do what I'm describing, where you don't have to forward declare functions, especially. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm sure part of it is just that I don't know the details of how they implement it, but that's kind of my inclination. But that said, it's not a huge problem. It's just something, a bit of a pain point for me, but I'm willing to put up with that for the sake of not having to write my own language that's substantially more complicated than just forward declaring stuff. So anyway, okay. So we've got this error message. And I should probably go ahead and just change this to result. Okay. Let's see. So I think we need to go to here. Yeah, and that's kind of my plan right now is, since right, um, in my case, like I find language development interesting, But I really do want to be able to work on this text editor. That's kind of my main interest. And so, I probably will end up writing my own programming language at some point in the future. But I don't want to block my kind of development with that. I'd rather be able to work on, this kind of stuff or maybe game development or something, and then also do language development kind of as like a parallel project that's not dependent on that other things don't depend on necessarily. Because otherwise, I'm just going to be sitting here like, okay, I got to write the language. I got to write the language. And then I can do the things that I really, really want to do right now. So, okay, let's get rid of this. So that's not going to be included there. Let's go to this here. And this one also includes an include section. So we'll go ahead and do that. P. And actually, that should be using strings, not angle brackets. Okay. Get rid of this. And we'll do error fail to initialize W. Excuse me. Okay. And let's go and do here also. Fail to create W window. Let's go here, info. And I should test out debug as well. How do I do that? Actually, we'll do trace. That one's not. There. Okay. Is there anything else? I think that's everything I need to include. So we'll close that. And I'm going to go ahead and remove logger.cppm. That's no longer necessary. And let's try and run this, see what we get. Unternated ifdef. Okay. Oh, right, because this is not being terminated. Okay. Let's not call that sauce location. Okay, is that it? I think that's everything. Source line is not a thing. Hold on. Pretty sure that's... Okay. Location line. Hold on, so... Interesting. Okay. Turns one baseline. Okay, so... Huh. Oh, never mind. That's a different thing. Interesting. Okay. Function name. Okay, that is source location. That's a weird one. Okay. So it in CPP reference, it was going on about how it would, it mentioned source line as like a related topic, but it's for a totally different thing under the stack trace header, whatever. I don't know what you want to call it in that case. Okay. So it's just line is what I'm supposed to be using there. I thought so. I was confused, but I guess I misread documentation. Okay. Oh, hello. Okay. Okay. All right. So first thing, expected. Let's screw that up too. What the heck is going on there? So that's at 18.9. What is... Oh, wait a minute. I think I know what's going on. Did not get... Need some commas. Okay. Actually, there's another one right here. That might be what's going on. And let's see. In expansion of... Okay, yeah, that's... hold on, actually. I should probably fix that first. Let's see. That's in... I think it's in Script Engine. Okay, so we'll just go here. So let's debug that. Okay. Okay. Oh, that not be responding. Hold on. Is that okay? Okay. All right. So first things first, I'll just go ahead and delete that. And now, so right, yeah. So we close that. Okay. Now I'm at the point where the Lua interpreter is active. So if I go ahead and I do something like this, it's going to print out the Lua error. Cool. So I can do something like print hello world. And then if I do os.exit, then it closes. Cool. Okay. So that works. And also now let's make sure that the release mode works properly. Makefile, here we go. Okay. And I'm just going to go and do sources. see. I think I probably should also do include slash c++ dot h. Why is this going to probably break things? Okay. All right. Make release. Okay. Okay, so what's going on there? Why is it not? Only permitted as first declaration or ending a global module fragment. Okay, what gives? Oh, stupid. Okay, there we go. Yeah, okay, so that's the first thing. Virtual interface declaration. Okay. Hold on. What is going on here? So if I just do make, and actually we'll clean first. Okay. So if I hit make, it's going to compile everything. And then it just works. Oh, whoops. Works if I type things correctly. Okay. So why is it not working here? Because it's got everything else that it's... Oh, no, that's fine. What gives? Mm-hmm. I think that... Hold on. Get something... Mm-hmm. Why is that not working? Mm. Okay, so okay, why is that not working? Hold on. C++. Let's see. Maybe this will help. Okay. Permitted as first declaration. Permitted as first declaration, which it is. Or after module face declaration, which there has been. Okay, that's. Why is that not working? Okay. That's okay. That's weird. Hold on a sec here. Let's do this. Let's see if we can Google this, figure this out. Okay, so I'm going to try here. I'm going to try clean. I'm going to go to the make file here. I'm going to go ahead and make it use the objects. Maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe it's just not happy with using Okay. So that seems to work okay. Well, that's annoying. Um, not sure why it does that. I'll just go ahead and zip this. But okay, so that explains it, I guess, to some extent. Not sure why it has a problem with it. I suppose maybe because I've cleaned out everything. Well, no, because that didn't go into the build folder. Huh. I don't know what's going on there, but that's rather annoying. Anyway, all right. Well, actually, let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and fix this, and then I'll call it a day. So, okay. So it needs to. Um. Let's see. I need a. Yeah. Yes. Oops. Something like that. Not particularly fond of that, but that's going to work well enough for the moment. And .cppm gcn.cache std.gcn. Just copy basically everything about this. Or no, it's R flags. Or these flags. Oh. Okay. And I need this. It's going to be very similar, except slight difference in the path substitution. .cppm r.o. Let's go with that for now. That should work. And just do here our objects. Okay. So if I make release, oops. Nice. Okay. os.exit, and you'll notice that it did not print out the trace, right? Because when you're in release mode, it really shouldn't be doing that. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and call it there. Again, I should be streaming again tomorrow. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys again in the next episode. Bye.